Let's start with something interesting. Number 9, knocking on wood. You say something good is about to happen, and then you quickly tap a table, a door, or even your own head. Just in case. It feels harmless, almost automatic. A tiny ritual to block bad luck before it hears you. People do this all the time. I've never broken a bone. Knock on wood. Everything's going great. Knock on wood. As if success is fragile, and saying it out loud might shatter it. But this habit is older than your house, older than your language. In ancient pagan traditions, people believed spirits lived inside trees. Trees weren't just plants. They were protectors. Powerful, sacred beings rooted between the human world and the unseen. If you spoke about your good fortune, you risked attracting jealous spirits or dark forces. So you knocked on wood to call the tree spirit for protection. It wasn't superstition. It was a request for backup. The sound of the knock was meant to wake the spirit, to let it know you needed guarding. Over time, the belief faded. The ritual stayed. Today, when you tap your desk after saying something hopeful, you're not just being cautious. You're performing a survival gesture that once meant something serious. You're echoing a time when forests were alive with unseen watchers. You don't believe in tree spirits, but somewhere in your reflexes, you still ask them to protect you, and you don't even realize you're doing it. Number 8, throwing coins into fountains. You stand near the water, close your eyes, make a silent wish, and toss a coin over your shoulder. The splash feels small. The hope feels big. It seems innocent, a playful ritual, a tiny deal with the universe. But this didn't start as wishful thinking. In ancient times, natural springs and wells were believed to be sacred. Water meant survival. It meant safe journeys, healthy crops, protection from disease. Many cultures believed powerful spirits or gods lived inside these waters. If you wanted safe travel or good fortune, you didn't just hope for it. You paid. People dropped coins, jewelry, even weapons into springs as offerings. It was a transaction, a gift in exchange for protection. The water wasn't decorative. It was divine. Archaeologists have found thousands of coins in ancient wells across Europe, left there on purpose. Each one was a request. Each splash was a bargain. Over time, the gods faded from the story. The ritual stayed. Now we stand in front of ornamental fountains in busy cities, whisper a wish, and toss in spare change. We don't think about water spirits. We don't think about ancient travel dangers. But the gesture is the same. You're still offering something valuable into water. The only difference is this: it used to be a payment for survival. Now it's a tip for luck. And somewhere beneath the ripples, the old bargain still echoes. Number 7, tossing rice at weddings. The ceremony ends, the couple walks out smiling, and suddenly handfuls of rice rain down on them like tiny white confetti. Everyone laughs. Photos are taken. It feels sweet, harmless, cute. But this tradition wasn't designed to look adorable. Long before modern weddings, rice symbolized something serious: fertility. In many ancient cultures, rice represented abundance, prosperity, and the power to create life. It wasn't just food, it was survival. A full harvest meant a growing family. A growing family meant strength. When guests threw rice at newlyweds, they weren't celebrating romance. They were symbolically showering the couple with fertility. It was a public wish for many children, healthy offspring, and a strong bloodline. The grains hitting their clothes and hair were meant to plant prosperity into their future. This ritual appeared in different forms across Asia and later Europe. Sometimes wheat or barley was used instead. The meaning stayed the same. It was about reproduction. Over time, the blunt symbolism softened. Romance replaced survival. Love replaced lineage. Many modern weddings have even replaced rice with flower petals or bubbles. But the gesture remains. When people toss something small and plentiful over a newly married couple, they're repeating an ancient message. May you multiply. May your home overflow. May your future be fertile. It looks like celebration. Originally, it was biology. Number 6, wearing black to funerals. When someone dies, closets open, and the same color appears again and again. Black suits, black dresses, black ties. It feels respectful, formal, almost automatic. No one usually asks why. Today, black represents mourning, seriousness, and loss. It signals that this is not a celebration. It tells the world you are grieving. But the meaning goes much deeper than fashion. In many ancient beliefs, death blurred the boundary between the living and the spirit world. People feared wandering souls, restless spirits, or unseen forces lingering near the recently deceased. Dark clothing wasn't just symbolic sadness. It was protection. Black was believed to make a person less noticeable to spirits, a kind of spiritual camouflage. If spirits were confused or searching, blending into darkness felt safer. Centuries later, during the Victorian era, mourning became highly structured. Under Queen Victoria's influence, strict dress codes defined grief. Widows wore black for extended periods, sometimes years. The darkness of clothing publicly displayed sorrow and also reflected social status. The longer and more elaborate the mourning attire, the deeper, or more socially visible, the grief appeared. So black became both spiritual shield and social signal. Over time, the fear of spirits faded. The etiquette remained. Now, when people gather dressed in black, it feels like tradition, like dignity. But hidden beneath the fabric is an older instinct to disappear, to show loss, to protect yourself from what might still be watching. It looks like mourning. Once, it was survival. Number 5, throwing salt over your shoulder. You're cooking, your hand slips, and salt spills across the counter. For a split second, you pause. Then you grab a pinch and toss it over your left shoulder, just in case. It feels automatic. Almost superstitious muscle memory. But salt was never just seasoning. For thousands of years, salt was sacred and extremely valuable. It preserved food, protected against decay, and was once used as currency. To waste it wasn't just clumsy. It symbolized loss, corruption, even betrayal. In some traditions, spilling salt was seen as inviting misfortune into your life. And misfortune wasn't random. Many old beliefs claimed evil spirits lingered behind you, especially over your left shoulder. The left side was considered weaker, more vulnerable. If salt spilled, it was thought to attract these lurking forces. So you threw salt behind you to strike them. The grains were meant to blind or repel the demon waiting out of sight. It wasn't symbolic. It was defensive. A quick counterattack against something invisible. The superstition spread through Europe and evolved over centuries. Even after belief in literal demons faded, the reflex remained. Today, when salt hits the floor, people still perform the motion. A quick toss, a nervous laugh. No real belief. But the gesture is precise. You're not just undoing bad luck, and you're aiming at something behind you. You can't see it. You don't know if it's there. Yet for a split second, you still fight it. It looks like habit. Once, it was protection against invisible enemies. Number 4, making a wish at 11:11. You glance at the clock and there it is. 11:11. For a brief second, everything pauses. You close your eyes, make a silent wish, and feel like you caught something rare. It feels cosmic, timed, meant for you. Unlike ancient rituals rooted in survival or spirits, this one is surprisingly modern. There's no old temple behind it, no forgotten deity. The magic comes from your own psychology. Humans are wired to recognize patterns. Our brains constantly scan the world looking for symmetry, repetition, and meaning. When numbers line up perfectly, like 11:11, it stands out. It breaks the visual rhythm of ordinary time. That disruption feels significant. Psychologists call this apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections in random data. Repeating numbers feel intentional, even when they aren't. Social media amplified the effect. The more people shared the idea, the stronger it spread. Soon, 11:11 became a portal moment, a lucky second, a tiny window where the universe might be listening. But the clock doesn't change at 11:11. Reality doesn't bend. Your brain simply flagged a symmetrical pattern and gave it importance. The wish feels powerful because you paused, you focused, you believed, even briefly. There's no ancient spirit, no hidden force waiting for that minute. The meaning wasn't discovered. It was assigned. And in that quiet second, by staring at 4 identical digits glowing on a screen, something fascinating happens. Your brain created the magic. Number 3, spitting for luck. Sometimes it's subtle, a quiet ptoo sound. Sometimes it's just pretending to spit over your shoulder after praising someone. It happens quickly, almost playfully, like a tiny ritual tucked inside conversation. It doesn't look serious, but it once was. In many Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cultures, saliva was believed to have protective power. Compliment someone too much? Spit lightly to prevent the evil eye. See something impressive or beautiful? Spit so envy doesn't attract misfortune. The idea was simple. Strong praise could invite jealousy from spirits or unseen forces. And jealousy, in old belief systems, was dangerous. Saliva was thought to repel that danger. Unlike holy water or charms, spit came directly from your body. That made it personal, alive, protective. It was considered a natural shield, capable of breaking curses or warding off evil energy. Some traditions even included lightly spitting on newborns, not out of disrespect, but as protection from harmful spirits drawn to innocence. Over time, hygiene replaced mysticism. The literal act faded in many places, replaced by a symbolic sound or a light gesture. But the reflex survived. Even now, after praising a child or celebrating good news, some people still make that soft spitting motion. Not because they fully believe, but because something old whispers, just in case. It looks like superstition. Once, it was spiritual disinfectant, a quick way to cleanse the air of invisible threats. And for a split second, and you're still guarding against something you cannot see. Number 2, saying jinx when you speak at the same time. You and someone else say the exact same word together. There's a split second of surprise. Then one of you blurts out, jinx, almost instinctively. It feels playful, competitive, like a tiny game. But the word itself has darker roots. Jinx is believed to come from the jinx bird, a creature in ancient folklore associated with omens and bad luck. The term evolved over time to mean a curse or a spell that brings misfortune. So when something unusual happened, like 2 people speaking the same word at the exact same moment, it wasn't always brushed off as coincidence. In older belief systems, unexpected synchronization felt eerie. It suggested something unseen aligning events behind the scenes. A glitch in normal reality. And glitches were suspicious. Calling jinx became a way to seize control of that moment. To name it. To neutralize it before it turned into something unlucky. Even the follow-up rule, where the jinxed person can't speak until their name is said, adds structure. It turns randomness into ritual. It transforms coincidence into something manageable. Today, it's mostly harmless fun between friends. No one really fears curses over shared words. But the reflex is still there. The instant something feels strangely aligned, you label it. You contain it. You break its power with a single word. It sounds like a joke, but in that tiny synchronized moment, you're reacting to what once felt like a small omen, and you neutralize it before it can mean anything. Number 1, Friday the 13th. The date appears on your calendar, and something feels slightly off. Some people avoid travel, others postpone big decisions. A few won't even leave the house. It's labeled an unlucky day, as if the number itself carries a warning. But this fear wasn't born in one place. It's a fusion. In Norse mythology, a famous story tells of a banquet of 12 gods. The trickster Loki arrived uninvited as the 13th guest, and chaos followed. Death entered the gathering. From that tale, 13 became associated with disruption and misfortune. Then Christianity added another layer. At the Last Supper, there were 13 people at the table, and the following day, Friday, was the crucifixion. Friday itself slowly gained a reputation as an unlucky day in medieval Europe, linked to suffering and execution. Over centuries, these separate anxieties blended together. The fear of 13, the suspicion of Friday. Medieval superstitions, religious symbolism, and folklore slowly merged. By the time the modern calendar standardized dates, the combination had hardened into a cultural warning label. Friday the 13th. It feels ancient, singular, mysterious. But it's actually a patchwork. Different myths, different eras, different fears, stitched into one date. There's no cosmic force tied to it, no measurable curse in the numbers, yet millions still feel a slight hesitation when it arrives. Not because one story made it powerful, but because multiple fears fused into one symbol. And symbols, once combined, can feel stronger than facts.